Hi everyone! Time to dive deeper in our upper room focus for the month of April. This month we're working on everyone's favorite, surrender. Surrender is the great turning point in all of our stories. The moment we decide to say to God, just like Jesus did, "Not my will, but yours be done." That is when everything changes. Today I want to draw your attention to one of the greatest stories of surrender in the Old Testament. Today I want to talk about Jacob and how he got his new name, Israel. The name Jacob literally means grabber. Rebekah was pregnant with twins. Esau came out first, but if you remember the story, Jacob was right on his heels. In fact, Jacob came out holding on to his brother's heel. You gotta love how they gave out names in the Old Testament. Esau means red and hairy. Jacob literally means grabber. In Jewish society, the older son got most, if not all, of the blessings. Jacob came into the world grabbing, and he spent his childhood trying to grab Esau's birthright. And later, with the help of his mother, he grabbed Esau's blessing. Please understand that Jacob is not a hero. He's selfish. He's super ambitious. He has to run away from home when he's a young man because he's burned all of his relational bridges. When he gets to the land of his uncle Laban, Jacob meets someone who is just as selfish and just as manipulating as he is. When all is said and done there, Jacob leaves his uncle's house with two of his daughters for wives and an abundance of herds, which was currency in that economy. Jacob grabbed from his uncle until he was a very wealthy and successful man. Because he had worn out his welcome, he had no choice but to turn around and head for home. I love the country song by David Lee Murphy that has the line, "The road you leave behind you is another road you're going to have to come back down." Jacob's past is about to catch up to him. His decades of grabbing have put him in a very vulnerable spot. He finds out that Esau is on his way to meet him and that Esau has an army of 400 strong warriors following him. Jacob just has his two wives, his young kids, his servants, and his herds. He is about to reap what he's sown. And for the first time in his life, there is nowhere to run. He has to face the music of his selfish life. His past has come back to bite him. The night before Esau was to reach him, Jacob went out alone, and we read in the scriptures that he wrestled with God all night. God confronted him, and they wrestle. Jacob was so selfish. Jacob was so stubborn. Even after God wounded his hip, he still wouldn't let go of his grip. He was still grabbing. What's so beautiful to me is the blessing that Jacob got by the end of it all. God gives him a new name. Imagine being named Grabber your whole life and then being given the name Israel. The new name Jacob received was Israel, which literally means one who is ruled by God. Jacob the Grabber, after wrestling with God, is called Israel, which means one who is ruled by God. Pre-surrender, Jacob was ruled by the flesh, grabbing everything in sight. Post-surrender, Israel was ruled by God. Pre-surrendered Christians are still grabbing at everything they can get their hands on. Surrendered Christians have a calmness, a peace, a contentment. They have delighted themselves in the Lord, and He has given them the desires of their heart. Why do we struggle with surrender? Why are we tempted to still take matters into our own hands? Selfish desires? Yes. Our flesh rises up? Absolutely. And on a deeper level, our lack of surrender shows a lack of trust. If you can surrender all things, you will walk in a peace and in a freedom that you have never known before. Last week, the image of surrender was the most intense image we could have taken. We looked at Jesus in Gethsemane. This week, we've looked at Jacob literally wrestling with God. Surrender is not for the faint of heart. But I want to leave you with a different image that should motivate you to want to hand everything over to God. Think about a 2-year-old child all tuckered out who's fallen asleep on their mom or dad. Is there a more peaceful, beautiful illustration than that? A child in the deep sleep in their parents' arms. That is the fruit of surrender. The child isn't anxious that their parent might drop them. The child has no worries about anything. For your homework this week, what are things in your life that are hard for you to surrender? What do you keep grabbing at and you won't let go, just like Jacob? Write down the things you're tempted to try and grab for yourself. And then start every day this week saying out loud, "Today, Lord, I give you this. Today, I will let you worry about that." Only say the thing specifically and not this or that. Go through your list. This is an experiment. I want to know if doing that every day for a week is as helpful as I think it will be. The reward of surrender is peace, and maybe even a new name. Have a great week.